Okay, gamers, welcome back to Boutus Gaming. This is the new streaming channel from a veteran gamer. And if you find the following video informative or entertaining, I hope you find it both. By all means, give us a sub on YouTube and a follow on Twitch. Now, I have done a guide previously on Bruna Battlehammer. This is Dark Alliance, the newest release in the Dungeons and Dragons franchise. Now, I did my review on Bruna Battlehammer and I went over the core assets of what I call the ultimate tank build for Bruna, in which you should focus more on defense and being a tank and being that last guy who survives, soaks up all the damage, and lives to not only fight another day but to revive his allies so you don't get a total party wipeout. Now, when it comes to Wulfgar the Barbarian, I take a somewhat of an opposite approach to that, in that you should be dealing as much damage as possible. You should be stunning the enemy combatants. You should be slowing them down and putting any adverse effects on them that you can. And I will show you how to do that as I go along. After I've gone over the core tenets of this guide for Wulfgar, and how you can make him a wrecking ball, a human wrecking ball, so to speak. We will then jump into a game and I'll show you some of the recommendations in action. So, being melee, I would recommend putting as much into strength and constitution as possible first. This I recommended with Bruna as well. Though with Bruna, I recommended a 2-to-1 ratio of 2 constitution, which will affect your durability and health, and 1 to strength, which determines physical power and aptitude and that type of thing. With Wulfgar, I would recommend the opposite. Again, a 2-to-1 ratio, but this time 2 to strength and 1 to constitution. It's always good to have constitution. That's why this maxed out Wulfgar has maxed out constitution. However, he is never going to be able to soak up as much damage as Bruna Battlehammer can. Likewise, Bruna is never going to be able to deal as much melee damage as Wulfgar can. So you play to your strengths. The difference is, however, whereas with Bruna Battlehammer, getting his ability scores up and his ultimate up, which can be affected by intelligence, which you can see here. The intelligence score reflects a character's knowledge, blah blah blah. It boosts elemental damage, but also reduce cooldown timers. Okay, so where that is very important for both, but especially Bruna, I would recommend ploughing any spare points that you get from attribute shrines with Wulfgar into charisma, because this will determine the ultimate, which is the ultimate meter, which I'm sure you're aware of. Now, whereas Bruna's is useful, they're all useful. Wulfgar's, when it comes to dealing damage, is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So anything that can recharge your ultimate is always going to be very beneficial. When it comes to equipment for Wulfgar, I would go with things that increases the constitution and strength, your resistances, of course, but with Wulfgar, what I would put ahead of resistances are things like maximum hit points, but especially maximum stamina. You want to keep going. You want to keep swinging that hammer. You don't want to stop for breaks. You don't want to run out of energy. You don't want to drink a stamina pot. So here with this helmet, look, 13% critical chance increase and a plus 44 critical damage. And you will see that a lot of my equipment, I have prioritized the increasing of stamina and the increasing of critical chance much more than resistances. So this necklace here is great. I have legendary necklaces, but they don't stack up to this one. plus 16 stamina bonus, plus critical damage, and ultimate charge bonus. I mean, come on. One quick thing I wanted to go over is usables. With Wulfgar, we have the obligatory health and stamina, but with him, I go for Elixir of Resistance, and at the shop, the merchant, you can increase their potency by upgrading them essentially. So physical resistance, because he's going to be mixing it up, and of course the ultimate charger. Now, this potion here, the potion of heroism, get that maxed out as soon as possible, because if you have equipment that increases your ultimate charge and the cooldown time for it, just one of these pots will very quickly completely fill up your ultimate meter. Okay, so that is one thing that I would recommend having as a usable setup. When it comes to abilities, now he starts with the hammer throw and the primal instinct. Unlike Bruna, who his abilities, his early ones are very good and could carry over into the later game. With Wulfgar, I personally find it the other way around, and I would recommend you going with the last two he can get, which is Shockwave, which is deals damage to all monsters within range and knocks them down, inflicting slow. That is his single most important ability, and it's the one I recommend going straight into the middle of a mob and hitting that button. I would save this specifically for when you have a large group of mobs, a large group of enemies, a big mob. Go straight into the middle of them, bam, you knock them all down, inflicting slow. And the other one I have, which you could change it with one of the other two beginning ones if you want, is Endurance of the Elk, which grants powerful strikes to Wulfgar and frenzy on himself and nearby allies. Now, this is good when you are in a boss battle. You can get him into the corner. You can just wail on him and wail on him. If you've played this game, I'm sure you're aware that usually some of the earlier boss battles, even on higher difficulties, will divulge into a boss in a corner with all four members of the party just wailing on him. This is when I would recommend using Endurance of the Elk, because it will increase all of your powers, giving you powerful strikes and frenzy not only on you but on everyone else as well. So we'll jump into a game in a minute. I just wanted, like with my Bruna guide, I just wanted to go over the Wrecking Ball guide, the moves that I would recommend. Now, this is one of the first ones you will unlock. It's just very simple. You press A and X on the controller. It will knock them down, stagger them, and deals base fire damage and stamina destruction. Very good as an entrance to a mob. If they're running towards you, this gives not only you and your teammates time to react, but damages their stamina quite severely. This move, Nail Basher, is always a good move to follow up from the Elk Stomp, because you can do this to them while they're on the ground and it will do some significant damage, not only to them, but it can inflict burning and deal 80% chip damage. This gap closer I don't particularly use. You can if you want to, though. If you're going to go with the guide that I'm proposing, you can always give this a wide berth. It's not particularly needed. Again, Shockwave is similar to Elk Stomp, though I rarely use it. Backstep Spinner, again, is not something I would recommend. It's a slow move that it can stun, but it's just not something I would recommend. This Rage Spin is an excellent move. It is a move that kind of echoes Wulfgar's ultimate. It's kind of like a short version of the ultimate. It can be tricky to pull off, but if you do manage it, it might take a while to get you the hang of it. But it certainly is a mob sweeper, without a doubt. You hold down the right trigger whilst holding forward from a cross check. Excuse me. It has a 35% chance to inflict burning. This arc swing is an excellent move because when you're fighting in a tight space, or if you are on a bridge or something like that, you can knock particularly lower level or inferior enemies from whole mobs over the bridge or over the wall, and they just disappear. This guard breaker is an excellent move in a mid combination attack. Heavy launcher, one of my favorites. Again, this can send goblins in particular flying to the moon and reduces the need for a long protracted, excuse me, instance. I'm sure you've seen this if you play Dark Alliance, where the enemy will just hold their shield up and you're just wailing against their shield, and your party has moved on, and you're thinking, oh, can't this goblin or this grey dwarf just hurry up and kick the bucket? If they're not willing to pass on to the other side voluntarily, then you can always just play golf with them, which is essentially what this move is. Very good. Shovel back, just another good move mid combination. And this move is my favorite, the magma summons. It's as simple to use as eating a slice of pizza. You just hold down the right trigger without pressing any of the directional buttons or anything else, and it deals enormous damage and sends them flying.
Oh, Brunner, look what they've done to our home.
And I asked you to stay here while I marched off to war. I can't imagine if you'd been here when they stormed in.
I can imagine a large collection of goblin skulls. And now I think I'll manifest.
That's how it works. It makes him.
So here you can see what this move in particular does, in which you can knock the enemy mobs over railings, off of bridges and the like, and on high difficulties this is something I thoroughly recommend because it reduces the time it takes to clear mobs, but also that you might find yourself in a position where your fellow party members are going off somewhere else, and you might get bogged down in a protracted battle with an enemy combatant who's just blocking all the time. So if you can break through their block and send them flying away into space, that's all good. So what you're about to see here is the reason why I said for Wulfgar, the Barbarian, it's very important that you max out the potions of heroism and certainly have them in your belt in every match you play, as his ultimate, more than any other, deals some extreme damage. If you have plus critical damage and plus critical chance, you can score critical hit after critical hit, which you are about to see here. And considering our party is currently in a pretty bad way, I would argue that this Wulfgar actually saved the day. So here you saw Wulfgar the Wrecking Ball doing what he does best if utilised correctly. Now, if you're a Dark Alliance player, you will know that that green shield around that elite goblin was actually an immunity shield. This would be dropped only when a particular other elite goblin is killed. With Wulfgar's ultimate, not only did I have the time and the ability with my plus critical chance and plus critical damage to, on the same ultimate, destroy the elite that needed to be destroyed to lower the shield, but once the shield was lowered, I also had enough gas left in this tank to take down the goblin elite as well. And then it's just onwards to the final boss. Well, that was my guide and demonstration with Wulfgar the Barbarian for Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance. I hope you've appreciated these guides. I've done Wulfgar and Bruna Battlehammer. I'm new to editing and streaming. My channels, both on YouTube and Twitch, are very new, so I'm learning as I go. But I do know my gaming, that much I can say, but I'm learning as I go. So I hope you enjoyed it if you got it this far, and I hope you at least would consider subscribing or giving us a follow. That would really keep my morale up. But thank you for watching anyway. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.